Okay, welcome to Korean Class Week 3. Today we will go over present tense, past tense, future tense, location markers, and then have a final conversation that includes some of these concepts. Let's first take a look at present tense. For present tense, we have this formula for conjugation. We'll start with the verb stem, for example, 가다, 보다, 먹다. Then we'll remove da, for example, 가, 보, 먹. And then we'll add ayo or oyo. For example, 가요, 와요, 먹어요. How to know whether or not to use ayo or oyo depends entirely on the vowel within the verb stem. If the vowel in the verb stem is an a or an o, then you conjugate it with ayo. For example, 가다 and 보다 both have, this has an a and this has an o, so it ends with ayo. And if there is any other vowel in the verb stem instead of ayo or oyo, then you conjugate it with ayo instead of ayo. Ka plus ayo equals kayo. Bo plus ayo equals wayo. Take one moment to fill in the blanks. Okay, great. Here are the answers. I usually wake up at 6 a.m. 저는 보통 아침 6시에 일어나요. Every day I go to work at 8 a.m. 매일 아침 8시에 회사에 가요. Now let's take a look at past tense. Has the same rules for conjugation, but instead of ayo, it'll be assoyo, and instead of oyo, it'll be osoyo. So if the vowel in the verb stem it has a or o, then it'll be asoyo, and if the vowel is a different vowel that's not a or o, it'll be osoyo. 차 plus asoyo equals 차soyo. 마시 plus osoyo equals 마셨어요. Take a moment to fill in the blanks. Here are the answers. What did you eat for breakfast? 아침은 뭐 먹었어요? Last week I went to Jeju Island. 지난주에 제주도에 여행 갔어요. Now let's look at future tense. Future tense is slightly different than present tense. For future tense, instead of looking at the verb stem to see if it has which vowel it has, you see if it ends in a vowel or if it ends in what's called 받침, which means final consonant. So here, if our example ends in a final consonant called 받침 in Korean, then it'll be then 을 거예요 will be added. For example, 먹다 and 늙다. And if the verb stem ends in a vowel, there's no 받침, then it'll be 릴 거예요 that is added. For example, 가다 and 보다. O plus 일 거예요 equals 올 거예요. 일g plus 을 거예요 equals 읽을 거예요. Take a moment to fill in the blanks. Here are the answers. Tomorrow I will make Korean food. Tomorrow I will make Korean food. 내일 한식을 만들 거예요. Next Saturday I will meet my friend at a coffee shop. 다음 토요일 제 친구하고 카페에서 만날 거예요. Let's look at the locative particles 에 and eso. 에 is used to describe the direction of an entity and where an entity exists. Eso is used to describe a location of an activity. Let's look in depth at 에. Here are some examples of when to use them. So we have 저는 학교에 가요. I'm going to school. 제 가방이 학교에 있어요. So for the first example, we see a direction of where someone is going, direction of the entity. And for the second one, we see where an entity exists. Let's take a look at eso. 저는 학교에서 한국어를 공부해요. I study Korean at school. An activity is taking place at the location. 제 책을 학교에서 읽어요. 에 is a static locative particle, meaning that what is happening is stationary or fixed, meaning that it is explaining the existence of something or the direction of something. So is a dynamic locative particle, meaning there is an action taking place at a location. Let's look at some examples. For our static locative particle e, we have go, come, live, and exist. 집에 가요. 학교에 와요. 한국에 살아요. For our dynamic locative particle SO, we have action verbs such as eat, drink, meet. 집에서 밥을 먹어요. 식당에서 커피를 마셔요. 학교에서 친구하고 만나요. Let's look at some sentence structure examples. Our first sentence structure example is a reminder of the one that we learned in week 1's lesson. Subject, then object, then verb. Our example sentence is similar to the one we had in week 1. Right now, we're trying to say that my boyfriend loves me. In this case, the subject would be my boyfriend, the object would be me, and the verb is love. We'll have the subject, then the subject particle, the object, then the object particle, the verb, and then the conjugation. That would look like 제 남자친구가 저를 사랑해요. Sarah goes to school. The subject particle is attached to the subject, locative particle attached to location, and there's a conjugation to the verb. 사라가 학교에 가요. Similar sentence as before. My bag is at school. Subject particle is attached to the subject, locative particle is attached to location, and then there's a conjugation of the verb. 제 가방이 학교에 있어요. Yumi is studying Korean in the classroom. The subject particle is attached to the subject, the locative particle is attached to the location, the object particle is attached to the object, and then the verb is conjugated. The subject is who of the sentence, in this case, Yumi. The location is where, in this case, the classroom. The object is what, in this case, Korean, and the action is the verb, in this case, study. 유미가 교실에서 한국어를 공부해요. My book is inside my bag. We have the topic particle attached to the topic, and then we have the location and then the position, and the locative particle is attached to the position, and then we have the verb and the conjugation. 제 책은 제 가방 안에 있어요. 사라가 학교에 가요. 제 가방이 학교에 있어요. 유미가 교실에서 한국어를 공부해요. 제 책은 제 가방 안에 있어요. 사라가 학교에 갔어요. 제 가방이 학교에 있었어요. 유미가 교실에서 한국어를 공부했어요. 제 책은 제 가방 안에 있었어요. 사라가 학교에 갈 거예요. 제 가방이 학교에 있을 거예요. 유미가 교실에서 한국어를 공부할 거예요. 제 책은 제 가방 안에 있을 거예요. 저 학교 식당이 어디 있어요?
유니온 빌딩 3층에 있어요. 도서관 뒤에도 있어요.
유니온 빌딩은 어디 있어요?
우체국 앞에 있어요.
감사합니다. 안녕히 계세요.
안녕히 가세요.
That's the end of the lesson. Have a good day. Bye.